this CARES grant through the Missouri Humanities Council, what makes you feel good. You see these grants given out all over the state, St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, Jeff City, Cape, that they ended up in a little town like Altenburg, 350 people. There is hope out there, even for little communities. Seems like sometimes you gotta work a little harder, but that's fine. And I'm thankful for the Humanities Council for even recognizing us and all the work we do here. So, thank you.
We can't thank people like them enough. We have no federal funding. We have no state funding. The only way that we get money is through private donations and through corporations.
So because we are privately funded, we rely on the support and generosity of Missouri, all of the organizations that can help us. So it's very, very vital to keeping us going. Jim got us started with his donation and his land, but we need more support. So we do appreciate this donation.
It's very important that Missouri Humanities funding goes across the entire state. And our state does include 2 major urban areas and smaller urban areas. But it's important that people like my Aunt Ethel in the rural areas also sit down and write grants. Because Missouri Humanities is very open to those proposals, and they're very forgiving if you're not a sophisticated grant writer. They are superbly skilled at looking at the value of a project. And in Missouri, our history starts in rural America, in rural Missouri.
And big organizations have professional grant writers that write grants for them. And so, you feel like their chances are optimized over years. Yes, so we were very grateful for this. Yeah, and very pleased that we felt like we were on an equal footing when it came to consideration.
So throughout the years, we've really been grateful to the Missouri Humanities Council and its staff because they have been so supportive of us. I can't emphasize that enough. And their grants are structured such that they make it easy and non-problematic for us to apply for funds. And we really feel as if they care about the arts agencies and cultural agencies, not only in Kansas City, but in outstate Missouri as well. That's very important.
We applied for the grant fairly early on, I think, and it came down to, we knew if we went very long without any money, that the museum would be in trouble. We have some reserves, but utilities being what they are, that would go pretty quickly. It was a day-by-day, have you heard type of situation, and we were greatly relieved when we got that. I think it also gives us a future knowing that the Humanities Council will be there with advice and maybe more grants to do other programs in the future. We're a bit in a holding pattern right now because we don't know what's coming next. If it's another shutdown, we're going to breathe a little easier because we have that cushion of the grant. We were pretty much in panic mode prior to that. But now we're really looking toward the future.
To be able to receive this grant that was so flexible in the way that we could spend it, that was so flexible in how we could use it for what would best serve our needs, was just kind of unimaginable for us. We apply for grants year-round, and to have one that we could use to serve us during a time that was really critical for the cinema, we couldn't be more grateful.
The best thing about the funds is they weren't narrowly restricted. I was able to use them for what needed to be done here to keep our organization afloat. Income and revenue-wise, we're a relatively modest organization with a huge place that requires groundskeeping and maintenance and facilities, and it was extremely helpful to have the funds to be able to keep us going.
Every year we're seeing our balance sheet, if you would, decrease to the tune that If we didn't have the CARES Act funding, if we, for whatever reason, stopped doing the fundraisers or they weren't successful, in all honesty, in about 3 years, we'd be out of business.
And by the CARES Act funding coming down, Missouri Humanities Council had an incredibly easy and efficient process to help us access those funds and utilize them in a very meaningful way, and we greatly appreciated that, because without those funds, it would probably be a few years before we could elevate all of our cultural and natural and historical resources along this corridor.
We've got a big story to tell and play a big part in Missouri history. It's one of the most important historic sites in Missouri, and so having the support of an organization like Missouri Humanities to tell that story and makes us feel that they recognize the significance.